The toy came into my workshop on a Wednesday, the day the sky turned the color of an old bruise. I remember that because my ex-wife used to say Wednesdays were cosmic joke days. The sort of days when the universe tested how much more stupidity or chaos you could tolerate before losing your mind. I didn't know it yet, but the universe was about to shove me face first into a war I never signed up for. And all because of a toy dragon. The kid brought it in under one arm, clutching it like a broken pet. The little wings were snapped, the eyes were dim, and the whole thing hummed with a power core I'd never seen before. But I'd worked on enough black market junk from off-world ships to recognize alien tech when I saw it. "Can you fix him?" the kid asked. Big eyes. Scruffy hair. The kind of kid who still believed humans were safe on Earth. "Yeah, sure," I muttered. "Looks like someone threw this thing down a reactor shaft." He giggled. "No. I dropped it off a cliff. Twice. Kids. Tiny agents of destruction." I took the dragon to the back bench. It was heavier than it looked, dense, like it was packed with microservos and high-grade alloys. But it wasn't dangerous. I'd seen dangerous. I'd served in the Titan Gate reactor core during the Jovian insurrection. I'd patched up orbital mining rigs that were exploding piece by piece. Nothing about this toy scared me. Except, the inside didn't look like any toy. Organic metal hybrid plating. Nanofiber muscle tissue. A core that pulsed like a slow heartbeat. And a strange glyph etched into the spinal casing, almost like a signature. "This is new," I muttered. The kid's father shrugged from the doorway. "Friends in orbit found it. Said it was junk." Of course they did. People in orbit, miners, salvagers, smugglers, they never checked what they hauled in. Half the stuff they sold me wasn't even legal to breathe near. Still, a job was a job. I cracked knuckles, grabbed my tools, and got to work. And that's when the dragon opened its mouth and whispered. Not growled. Whispered. A faint scratch of sound. A half-breath. A broken word. I froze. "Okay, that's new." The little voice rasped again, glitching like a corrupted audio chip. Return home." I lifted my goggles. "Buddy, if you're alive, blink twice." Nothing. The father frowned. "Bad sound module?" "Yeah," I lied. It wasn't a sound module. I could feel the heat from the core now, subtle, rhythmic, too organic. A living machine. Something ancient. Something sophisticated. Something someone was probably missing. But Earth had no alien visitors on record, officially. Unofficially, well, I'd watched the skies long enough to know the galaxy didn't care about our borders or treaties. Still, the kid waited, so I repaired the wings, cleaned the circuits, rewired the core stabilizer, and replaced half the muscle fibers with human-grade analogs I kept around for repairing biomech limbs. The whole time, the toy watched me. That wasn't paranoia. Its eyes flickered, tracking my hands. The pulse quickened when I soldered a joint near the spinal node. Once, it shuddered when I touched the core. "Easy," I muttered. "I'm not here to hurt you." The kid smiled. "He likes you." "Yeah," I muttered. "Lucky me." 2 hours later, the dragon sat upright on the bench, eyes bright, wings extended, tail swishing slightly as if testing balance. The kid clapped. "You fixed him." The dragon turned toward the child, then turned back to me. "Protector," it whispered. My blood froze. "Excuse me?" The kid didn't hear it. The father didn't hear it. But I did. The dragon's eyes glowed brighter, almost reverent, almost afraid. "Protector returns." Then the toy's wings snapped shut, its posture locked, and the core went dead silent as if it had shut down intentionally. I stared at it. "What the hell are you?" But I saved the question for later. I handed the dragon back, took the father's payment, a handful of orbital tokens and a bottle of contraband Titan whiskey, and sent them on their way. The workshop fell silent. And that's when the windows shook. A low hum trembled through the air, vibrations deep enough to rattle tools off their hooks. My coffee mug slid across the counter and hit the floor. Outside, dogs started barking. Power grids flickered. The old solar street lamps along the highway snapped off one by one. I stepped out into the yard, wiping grease off my hands. And I saw it. A ship, not any human design, hovering above the tree-line. Silent. Black. Angled like a predatory bird. Its surface shimmered with shifting runic patterns, matching the glyph on the dragon's casing. And then a second ship appeared. And a third. My mouth went dry. Oh, hell! A beam of blue light swept across the workshop, scanning it from roof to foundation. The moment it passed over me, my skin tingled with static. A voice, not through my ears, but in my head, spoke a single phrase. The heirloom has been activated. My heart punched my ribs. What heirloom? It was a toy. Another voice, cold, layered with mechanical clicks, answered. Designation, Protector Class. Lost for 700 cycles. Reactivated by human hands. Then take it and go. I shouted at the sky. I don't want your trouble. The ship's lights tightened on me, narrowing like the gaze of a giant eye. You repaired it. I swallowed. Yeah. So? Only a war-forged mechanic of a warrior species could restore such a relic. A spotlight burned down on me. I raised an arm against the glare. Therefore, the voice declared, you have invoked the right of restoration. Oh, that sounded bad. I lowered my arm slowly. Listen. I fix tractors. I fix mining rigs. I fix broken marriages by telling guys to stop buying discount flowers. I am not part of any cosmic right. The sky rumbled as ships aligned like executioners preparing a sentence. By ancient law, the voice said, the one who restores the heirloom becomes its champion. A cold wind swept past me, dragging dust and leaves across the yard. Champion? I whispered. Of what? Silence. Then, of our war. The moment the word, war, left that alien voice, the dragon, now miles away in a child's arms, reactivated on its own. Across the horizon, every ship's lights flared. The war had already started. And somehow, I was at the center of it. The sky was alive now. Not with birds, not with clouds, but with warships, sleek, black, and impossible. They moved like liquid predators, their edges slicing the horizon. And all of them were looking at me. I wiped the sweat from my brow. Okay, breathe. Just a Wednesday, that's all. Just another Wednesday. The first ship descended. Its hull shimmered, reflecting the dying sunlight like oil on water. I could hear the hum in my chest now, like 1,000 subsonic engines tuned to terror. And then came the voice again, closer, sharper, more impatient. Human! Step aside or be eradicated. I laughed. Not the polite chuckle of a calm man, but the kind of laugh that comes from staring death in the eye and realizing it has no idea who it's dealing with. Step aside? I muttered. Buddy, I fix things. You just woke me up. You want me to step aside? Not happening. I grabbed the only weapon I had, a welding torch. My exosuit, rusted, patched, and illegal, was barely functional, but it would have to do. I rigged a makeshift shield out of scrap steel and shoved the torch into a power pack. If I was going to fight aliens with a dragon in the mix, I'd be damned if I did it without style. The first blast hit my workshop door, vaporizing the frame and splintering the walls. Dust and splinters rained down on me. I staggered, coughing, but kept moving. Survival was a habit. Fixing broken things was survival too. And apparently now, so was fighting alien empires that thought Earth was soft. From behind me, the dragon fluttered its wings. Its eyes were brighter than before, glowing like molten sapphire. I didn't know if it was friend or foe, but I had a feeling it would follow instructions, mine. All right, buddy, I muttered. Let's show them humans don't go down quietly. The ships opened fire. Not just bullets, waves of energy, antimatter pulses, and some kind of bioluminescent nanomissiles that sizzled in the air like angry fireflies. I ducked behind the remnants of my workshop, but instinct and experience took over. I grabbed a discarded magnetic coil from my tool bench, rigged it to a thermal detonator, and tossed it. A chain reaction erupted. The nearest ship shuddered as its hull warped, sparks flying. The aliens screamed, not audibly, but in a pulse of distorted sound that made my teeth ache. Their attention shifted, just enough for the dragon to swoop into the fray, wings slicing through the air, claws tearing at their sensors. I realized then, I wasn't just fighting. I was commanding. Not because I was a general, or even brave, but because humans always find a way. Improvisation is our weapon. Our audacity. Our curse and our gift. A beam caught the dragon mid-flight. I shouted, throwing a coil like a javelin. Sparks hit the hull, detonating inside. The dragon roared, a mechanical, bioorganic sound, and dropped the beam like a guillotine. The aliens faltered. Their formation wavered. They had expected weapons, tactics, discipline. They had not expected human improvisation. I sprinted across the rubble, dodging falling debris and ricocheting plasma. The dragon landed beside me, its eyes locked on mine. A whisper vibrated through my skull. Follow. Survive. Lead. Lead? I said, panting. Yeah, okay. Let's lead them into a trap. 2 blocks over, the abandoned industrial district offered cover. Rusted cranes, collapsed warehouses, and long-forgotten rail lines made a perfect maze. I ran through it, the dragon flying above, creating chaos with every swing of its tail and blast from its miniature core. The alien ships pursued, but their targeting system struggled with the environment. I found a small substation, a forgotten human relic from the last century, and rigged it to explode. All I had to do was trigger it when the largest ship passed over. A little wiring, a little luck, and the main conduit would vaporize its hull. Seconds later, the flagship, the largest vessel, shaped like a black arrowhead, swooped overhead. I pressed the detonator. A pulse of light tore through the metal, sending the ship plummeting into the city. Alien screams echoed, warped and distorted by the gravity of its own death throes. The other ships hesitated. That pause was all I needed. The dragon dove, spinning through their formation, ripping sensors, severing power lines. The aliens started retreating, but not fast enough. I rigged another substation, this one near a cluster of shipping containers, and detonated it. One by one, ships crashed into each other, creating a domino effect of fire and metal. By the time the sun dipped completely below the horizon, the battlefield was silent. Smoke rose like a funerary veil over my little town. The dragon landed beside me, its wings folding neatly. Its glowing eyes dimmed slightly, like a tired sentinel. I sank to my knees. Well, that went well, I muttered, voice hoarse. Human improvisation, check. Alien warships, wrecked. Dragon toy alive. The dragon looked at me, and I swear it almost smiled. The rite continues, it whispered. I groaned. You mean there's more? The heirloom awakens fully only when its champion proves worthy. Others will come. Stronger. Smarter. Deadlier. Great. Just what I needed. More aliens. I lit a cigarette, ignoring the radiation from a stray plasma arc nearby. Humans had a way of surviving impossible odds, and I was learning that being a champion wasn't about superpowers, it was about sheer, stubborn audacity. And maybe a little luck. And whiskey. Definitely whiskey. A sudden movement behind me made me spin. A small scout drone, camouflaged in shadows, hissed and clicked, eyes glowing. I raised the welding torch, ready to burn it to ash. The dragon hissed a warning, then whispered. Do not kill. They report to the hive. The hive? I asked, rubbing my temples. You're really giving me all the bad names tonight, aren't you? They are ancient. They consume civilizations. They judge all who awaken relics. And they are coming. I flicked my lighter. So, let me get this straight. I fixed a toy, and now I'm the main character in an interstellar nightmare? Sounds about right. The dragon's core glowed one last time. Prepare. train, survive. Humanity is underestimated. I laughed. Dark, bitter, proud. That's the thing about humans. When the galaxy underestimates you, it tends to die first. And I, some greasy, ex-Titan Gate mechanic with a dragon toy, was about to prove it. Because humans don't just survive war. Humans define it. The first night after the battle, I didn't sleep. The dragon perched on my workshop roof, wings folded, eyes scanning the horizon like a living radar. I sat on a crate, cigarette smoke curling in the violet twilight, thinking about how badly I just underestimated the situation. Aliens weren't the problem. Humans were. They always were. I had a plan, though. Well, a planish. Improvised, jury-rigged, completely insane. But it might just work. Step 1: Weapons. I raided my old storage locker, places humans forget are full of the things aliens assume are primitive. Mining lasers, pulse rifles, old orbital rail cannons, gravity traps, and a stockpile of illegal drones. I hooked everything up to my workshop's AI core, limited, self-taught, but good enough to think like a human, unpredictable, brutal, and delightfully wrong from the alien's point of view. Step 2: Strategy. Aliens expect linear battle lines. Formation. Discipline. Predictable tactics. Humans don't do predictable. We improvise, we adapt, we fight dirty. So I created chaos zones around the city. Collapsing overpasses, electromagnetic traps, decoy drones, flamethrower turrets rigged to old shipping containers. Step 3: Allies. The dragon hummed beside me, wings vibrating like a tuning fork. Its core pulsed blue and red in warning. Others will come. Stronger. Smarter. Deadlier. It whispered again. Yeah, thanks for the pep talk, I muttered. But the point was, the dragon wasn't just a tool. It was a partner, a biomechanical weapon that humans couldn't have built, but we could wield. And that's the real trick. Humanity isn't limited by tools. We're limited by imagination. By dawn, the first alien probes appeared. Sleek, black, and silent, gliding over the city like vultures. I triggered the first trap, a lattice of drones flying low, carrying electromagnetic nets. The probes swerved, crashed, and then, the dragon struck. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't precise. It was human. Wings like blades, claws like hammers. Sparks flew. Wires snapped. Alien sensors fried. I laughed. Dark, rough, savage laughter. The alien fleet responded, bigger, faster, more brutal. Ships began orbiting the city, firing plasma pulses, dropping microdrones that could pierce a tank like paper. Humans panicked in the streets, but then I saw it, the spark every HFY story needs. Humans fought back. Improvised vehicles turned into armored rolling barricades. Farmers welded together combined harvesters and scrap metal to create mobile turrets. Kids, brilliant, fearless, hacked drones to act like kamikaze interceptors. The aliens were stunned. They expected primitive. They got genius. I shouted into the comlink I'd hacked from an orbital relay. Hey! Overlord in the sky! You think Earth is defenseless? Think again. Humans don't negotiate. Humans don't surrender. And humans win. For a moment, silence. Then the first real attack wave struck. Alien soldiers, exosuits, claws, plasma rifles, descending like the end of the world. They moved fast, precise, lethal. I met them in the alleyways with a homemade pulse rifle and the dragon at my back. The first one dropped like a stack of wet cardboard. Not because I was better. Not because the dragon was stronger. But because humans think sideways. While they executed perfect formations, I booby-trapped their landing zones. Nanite dispersal fields scrambled their sensors. Collapsing scaffolds buried them alive. Gravity traps flipped them like pancakes. Why are they doing this? One alien shrieked, mechanical, brittle, almost human-like in panic. I smiled through soot and sweat. Because you underestimated us. The dragon leapt into the air, wings carving arcs through alien ships, claws shredding hull plating. When it roared, it wasn't just sound, it was a command. Humans followed instinct. Street to street, rooftop to rooftop, the city became a battlefield that made no sense on a tactical map but made perfect sense in the mind of a human. By midday, the alien overlord, a massive ship, bigger than the city, began descent. Its hull shimmered with unknown alloys, glyphs glowing like a crown of fire. It spoke through telepathy, projecting directly into my skull. Champion! Surrender the heirloom, or this world dies. I wiped blood from my knuckles. Surrender? Nah. You want it back? Come take it yourself? The overlord laughed, or whatever the closest equivalent was for a 700-cycle-old war machine. Then it fired. The beam hit the street below like a scythe through steel. Buildings crumbled. Cars vaporized. People screamed. But I was ready. My traps, carefully layered, activated in a chain reaction. Buildings collapsed on enemy drones. Magnetic pulses fried targeting arrays. Gravity flux fields inverted the battlefield. Humans weren't just surviving, they were dominating. The overlord recoiled, disoriented. That's when I made my move. The dragon and I led a strike team straight into the heart of the overlord's landing zone. Me with pulse rifle, welding torch, and mad improvisation, the dragon tearing through exocets and plasma defenses. We reached the ship's core. Its power surged like a storm contained in metal. The dragon whispered, "Now, champion. Improvise." I smiled. This was the part humans are terrifying at. Improvisation. Genius born from desperation. I jammed my welding torch into the primary power conduit, redirected the flux through the nanite dispersal field we'd activated in the city streets. Sparks flew. The overlord's systems overloaded. Its weapons fired themselves into its hull. Gravity distorted. Energy ripped through the core like lightning on steroids. Then boom. The flagship erupted, a cathedral of fire and metal, raining debris over the battlefield. Alien soldiers scattered, retreating toward their orbiting vessels. Humans cheered. Smoke and ash filled the sky. The dragon landed beside me, wings folded, chest heaving like a proud, warforged companion. I laughed. Loud. Bitter. Victorious. Humans, never surrender. The telepathic voice of the overlord cracked through the storm. You are dangerous, humans, impossible. I wiped soot from my face. You have no idea. And I realized something the galaxy had consistently underestimated. Humanity doesn't need perfect weapons, perfect strategy, or perfect soldiers. We need audacity, cunning, and the refusal to die quietly. We fight, we improvise, and we survive. Always. The dragon nudged me gently with its snout. It wasn't just a toy anymore. It was a symbol, a weapon, a reminder of what humans could do when underestimated. I looked at the horizon. More ships would come. Stronger, smarter, deadlier. But that didn't matter. Humans always adapt. Humans always retaliate. Humans always win. And this, I realized, was only the beginning. Because the universe had just learned the first lesson of Earth: never underestimate a human. Especially one who fixes dragon toys for fun. The sun rose over a ruined city, but it didn't matter. Humans were alive. The dragon perched on the highest rooftop, wings folded, eyes scanning the horizon like a vigilant sentinel. I lit a cigarette and surveyed the chaos we'd left behind. Smoke rose in columns, twisted steel jutted skyward like jagged teeth, and distant fires painted the sky orange and purple. We weren't heroes. Not yet. We were survivors, and survivors don't wait for permission. The Overlord fleet was regrouping in orbit. Stronger ships, faster drones, biomechanical soldiers designed to wipe us out in one sweep. They had underestimated humanity once. They wouldn't make that mistake again. But they still didn't understand humans. I grabbed a makeshift map I'd scrawled in the rubble. The city, its factories, and underground tunnels were all wired with improvised traps. Pulse mines. gravity flux fields, electromagnetic nets, improvised flamethrowers. The aliens might have advanced technology, but we had the one thing they couldn't calculate: chaos. The dragon nudged me. Its eyes glowed. Whispering, it said, "The hive approaches. They judge all who awaken relics. Prepare, champion." I smirked. Yeah. Well, humans aren't here to be judged. Hours later, the first hive ships pierced the atmosphere. They weren't like the last ones. They moved with precision, a swarm of dark gleaming predators, armed with weapons that could strip a building to steel and concrete in a heartbeat. Their leader, a living ship, black as obsidian, crowned with flickering glyphs, projected a voice directly into my mind. "Champion! Surrender the Protector! Humanity is a mistake. You cannot survive." I laughed. Dark, bitter, savage laughter. "Wrong. Humanity survives because we refuse to. You can't kill that." And then it began. We fought like no one had ever fought before. I led humans through alleyways, across rooftops, and into tunnels, while the dragon carved arcs of destruction above. Mines detonated. Gravity traps flipped enemy soldiers like ragdolls. Drones kamikazed into ships, exploding hulls from the inside. Humans were improvising, adapting, outthinking the hive with every step. But this was only the beginning. I had saved my trump card. In a hidden part of the city, an abandoned orbital cannon, left from decades-old space wars, sat rusted but intact. I climbed inside, fingers flying over the control panel. With a few jury-rigged adjustments, I could aim it at the approaching hive motherships in orbit. One shot. One chance. A massive human weapon against a technologically superior enemy. The dragon landed beside me, breathing sparks of energy. Its eyes fixed on the cannon, then back to me. Whispered, "Champion, the right ends only when the heirloom is free." I understood. Free meant destroyed. Or liberated. The Protector, once a toy, now a living, sentient weapon, needed release. I adjusted the cannon. Calculated trajectories. Launched. The beam tore through the sky like a lance of pure energy. Hive ships disintegrated mid-orbit, metal vaporized, soldiers hurled into space, screaming echoes of terror. The mothership staggered, losing formation. Panic spread like wildfire. And then, my jaw dropped. The Protector dragon activated fully. Wings unfurled, claws glowing, and it leapt from the rooftop into the sky. Its roar shattered windows and eardrums alike. It didn't just attack, it reorganized, interfaced with the cannon, synchronized the human traps, and began systematically dismantling the remaining hive forces. The aliens realized too late that humans weren't just warriors, they were conductors. Improvisation, ingenuity, chaos, and sheer audacity became a symphony of destruction. Hours passed. When the last hive ship burned in orbit, silence fell. A silence heavier than death. The city lay in ruin, but humans, our species, survived. And not just survived, we had won. The dragon landed beside me. Its eyes met mine, no words needed. "You did this," it whispered. "No," I said, voice hoarse. "We did this. Humans. Chaos. Imagination. And a little bit of stubbornness." A crackling signal echoed from the destroyed mothership. A single voice remained. Weak. Shattered. Fearful. "Impossible, how, humans?" I smiled. "We're not supposed to be possible." The dragon nudged me gently, almost affectionately. Then it lifted into the sky, wings flaring, ready to return to whatever part of the galaxy it belonged to. I watched it go. Then I looked at the city. Ash, smoke, fire, but alive. Humanity had survived. Humanity had fought back. Humanity had won against an enemy that thought us weak, naive, irrelevant. And that's the thing about humans, we don't just survive wars. We rewrite the rules. Later, I found the kid whose dragon toy started it all. He was unharmed, holding a small replica of the dragon. I knelt down, wiping soot from my face. "You okay?" I asked. he grinned. Yeah. You're my hero. I laughed. Dark, bitter, proud. No, kid. You don't get it. The hero is humanity. We all are. Never forget it. He nodded, eyes wide. So, humans are scary? I smirked. Scary? We're terrifying, but only to those who underestimate us. And somewhere above the clouds, far from Earth, remnants of the hive fled, broken and confused. They would remember us. They would underestimate us no longer. But here's the twist: victory had a price. Cities were ruined. Families lost. Fires burned. And the protector dragon, our ally, would vanish again into the stars, leaving only whispers of its presence, and a chilling reminder: humans are unpredictable, brilliant, and capable of horrors the galaxy cannot comprehend. I lit another cigarette, leaning against the rubble. Staring at the horizon, I muttered, "Let the universe take note. Underestimate humanity at your own peril." And in that moment, as the wind carried the faint hum of distant stars, I realized something profoundly human. We don't just survive. We don't just fight. We thrive in chaos. We turn toys into weapons, mistakes into victories, and nightmares into legends. Humanity, I thought, is the galaxy's reckoning. And the galaxy had just begun to learn that lesson.